King Arthur, separating fact from fiction. Welcome to our channel, where we explore history's mysteries. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most enduring legends of Western history, King Arthur. Did he really exist, or is he just a fictional character? Let's find out. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos. First of all, let's look at the evidence for King Arthur. The legend of King Arthur has been around for centuries, with countless books, movies, and TV shows dedicated to retelling his story. But where did the legend begin? The first written account of King Arthur was by a Welsh monk named Nennius in the 9th century. Nennius is known for writing a history of Britain called the Story of Britain, which includes an account of King Arthur. In his work, Nennius describes Arthur as a warrior who led the Britons in battle against the invading Saxons. Nennius' account is significant because it is the earliest written record of King Arthur. However, there are some doubts about the accuracy of his account. For one, it is not clear where Nennius obtained his information about Arthur. It is possible that he was relying on oral traditions or earlier written sources that have been lost to history. Furthermore, some historians have questioned whether Nennius was writing about the same King Arthur that later writers would describe. For example, Nennius does not mention many of the famous elements of the Arthurian legend, such as the Round Table or the Holy Grail. Despite these uncertainties, Nennius' account remains an important piece of the King Arthur puzzle. His work helped to establish Arthur as a figure of historical interest, and subsequent writers would build on his account to create the legend that we know today. Other medieval writers also wrote about King Arthur. One of the most important medieval writers to contribute to the Arthurian legend was Geoffrey of Monmouth, a Welsh cleric who wrote the history of the kings of Britain in the 12th century. In this work, Geoffrey describes Arthur as a powerful king who defeated the Saxons and established a vast empire. He also introduces many of the key elements of the Arthurian legend, such as the sword in the stone and the wizard Merlin. Another important medieval writer was Thomas Malory, who wrote Le Morte d'Arthur in the 15th century. This work is a compilation of various Arthurian legends and is considered the definitive account of the legend in English literature. Malory's work includes many of the famous stories associated with King Arthur, such as the love triangle between Arthur, Guinevere, and Lancelot, and the quest for the Holy Grail. Other medieval writers who wrote about King Arthur include Chrétien de Troyes, a French poet who wrote several Arthurian romances in the 12th century. And Marie de France, another French poet who wrote a series of lists that featured Arthurian characters. The writings of these medieval authors helped to establish King Arthur as a prominent figure in European literature and folklore. While their accounts were largely fictionalized, they helped to create a rich and enduring myth that has captured the imagination of people for centuries. But just because these writers wrote about King Arthur, does that mean he really existed? Let's look at the historical evidence. There is no doubt that Britain was invaded by the Romans in AD 43 and that they stayed for almost 400 years. After the Romans left, the Britons were left vulnerable to attacks by various tribes, including the Saxons. This period is known as the Dark Ages, and it is during this time that King Arthur is said to have lived. According to legend, he was a British king who fought against the invading Saxons in the late 5th and early 6th centuries. The connection between the Dark Ages and King Arthur is significant because the legend of Arthur emerged during a time of great turmoil and uncertainty in Britain. The fall of the Roman Empire had left a power vacuum, and various groups, including the Saxons, were vying for control of the island. The legend of King Arthur, with its themes of chivalry, heroism, and the struggle between good and evil, provided a powerful symbol of hope and inspiration for the Britons during this period. It helped to unite the desperate groups of Britons against a common enemy and provided a sense of national identity and pride. Moreover, the figure of Arthur has continued to be a powerful symbol throughout history, representing various ideals and aspirations depending on the cultural and political context. In the medieval period, he was seen as a paragon of chivalry and a model of Christian virtue. In the Victorian era, he became associated with notions of British imperial power and glory. The legend of King Arthur is intimately tied to the history of the Dark Ages, and its enduring popularity is a testament to the enduring power of myth and legend in shaping our understanding of the past. The historical evidence for King Arthur is limited and subject to much debate among scholars. There are no contemporary written records from Arthur's supposed lifetime that mention him, and the earliest written accounts of him come from several centuries after his supposed reign. One of the most significant pieces of historical evidence for Arthur is a poem called a Gododdin, which was written in the 6th century by the Welsh bard Aneurin. The poem describes a battle in which a warrior named Werter fights alongside Arthur, although the extent of Arthur's involvement in the battle is not clear. Another piece of evidence comes from the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a collection of annals that cover English history from the 5th century to the 12th century. The chronicle includes several references to battles between the Britons and the Saxons, but it does not mention Arthur by name. There are also several archaeological sites in Britain that have been associated with King Arthur. For example, Tintagel Castle in Cornwall is said to be the birthplace of Arthur, while Cadbury Castle in Somerset is said to be the site of Camelot, Arthur's legendary capital. However, there is little concrete evidence to support these claims. In recent years, some historians have suggested that King Arthur may have been based on a real person or a composite of several historical figures. They point to the fact that many medieval legends are based on actual historical events and individuals, but have been exaggerated and embellished over time. Overall, the historical evidence for King Arthur is sparse and open to interpretation. So, did King Arthur really exist? The answer is, we may never know for sure. But whether he was real or not, his legend has captured the imagination of people for centuries and will continue to do so for generations to come. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Join us next time as we explore another fascinating mystery from history.